Okay, so you want to get rid of the fear of getting punched in the face because you think you're James Bond. Well, I got you, because this is something I hear all the time. People always tell me, whether it's a friend or a coworker, people always tell me I want to get into combat sports, but I'm nervous about getting punched in the face. And I always tell them, man, welcome to the club. All of us are nervous about getting punched in the face. Nobody walks into a fight gym and fights like Mayweather on the first day. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen with you. It definitely didn't happen with me. It doesn't happen with anybody. It is completely normal and okay to feel nervous about getting punched in the face. But there is a way to get rid of this fear, and that's what I'm going to talk about. The way to get rid of this fear, it's not through defensive pad work, it's not through heavy bag work. Look, that stuff's really important. You definitely want to do your defensive drills, your heavy bag work, your shadow boxing. You want to work on the fundamentals. All of that's important, but it's not going to get rid of that fear. You're still going to be nervous when you step into the ring. The way to get rid of this fear, it has to do with sparring. You want to spar more, you want to spar often. Because if you keep sparring, eventually that fear is going to go away. If you're always, whether it's a boxing gym, a kickboxing gym, an MMA gym, if you're constantly getting into the ring, you're constantly facing that fear of getting punched in the face, you're constantly going through that pressure, you're going to get used to it. And naturally, the fear is going to go away. It's going to start fading away. Because that's just how it is. If you get used to something, you're used to that pressure, it's just not going to faze you. You're going to reach that point. Sparring is no different. So you want to spar often. And this is what happened with me. When I first started boxing, when I first started sparring, I'll tell you, I was nervous. I'll tell you that. I wasn't terrified. I wasn't turning away and flinching when somebody threw a punch at me. It wasn't that bad. And I was still fighting back when I was in the ring. But I was tense. I was definitely tense when I first started sparring. But I kept showing up, kept getting into the ring, kept sparring, and eventually that fear started going away. And I'm at a point now where I'm not as tense as I used to be. And this has definitely helped me. It's helped me with defending myself and my loved ones outside if a real altercation were to happen. So much so that, I'll give you an example. I remember I was outside and I was making content. So I'm outside making content, just doing my own thing. But then this guy started walking towards me. He started walking towards me, some crackhead started walking towards me. And he started talking to me. He starts mumbling something at me. And I'll tell you straight up, I didn't know what this guy was saying. Don't have a clue. The only thing I understood that he said something about Jesus finding the bag. And that's it. I didn't understand anything else he was saying. And I remember I was looking at him while he was talking to me. And I was just trying to figure out what this guy was saying to me. I genuinely wanted to know what he was saying to me. But he started getting angry. He starts getting angry and he was wearing a bag. He starts getting angry and he starts walking away from me. He starts walking away, but while he's walking away, he was still looking back at me and he was maintaining eye contact with me and he was still talking to me while he was walking away. So he's walking away, he's still looking at me, he's still talking to me, and he looks angry. But then all of a sudden, he drops his bag and he starts running towards me. He starts running towards me aggressively, and he looks like he's about to punch me. He looks like he's about to hit me. And as he's running, he starts running towards me. But as he's running towards me, I didn't feel any fear. I legit did not feel any fear while he was running at me. The only thing that was running through my mind while he was running at me, I only started thinking to myself, yeah, this guy's gonna hit me. And I guess I have to take care of myself. That's the only thing that was running through my mind. I wasn't scared, didn't feel any fear. And then eventually he stopped in front of me with some distance between us. He stopped and then he just walked back, grabbed his bag and just walked away. Till this day, I have no idea what he was saying, but he walked away, nothing happened, but I didn't feel any fear. Why? Because I was sparring often. And I'm not saying this to be some tough guy, that's not me. I'm not some tough guy. I don't care about being some macho meathead tough guy or anything. That's not the point. The point is, I was sparring often, and because of this guy, this crackhead running at me aggressively, looked like he was about to hit me, didn't feel any fear. Because think about it. I'm in the gym. There's really good fighters at my gym. These are guys they're strong, they're fast, they're athletic, they can hit hard, they know how to fight. And I'm sparring with these guys. I'm with these guys multiple times a week. If I'm with these guys, I'm sparring with these guys, they're throwing punches at me. Do you think some random crackhead is going to scare me? Obviously not. And this is what's going to happen with you. If you're always in the boxing gym, you're always in the kickboxing gym, you're always sparring, you're sparring with people that know how to fight, you too will eventually reach a point where the average Joe, the average overweight Joe that can't even throw a punch, him swinging at you just isn't going to scare you anymore. So you want to spar often. The other thing is though, you don't need to spar hard. So you want to spar often, but you don't need to spar hard. You don't want to get into gym wars. You want to spar fast. You want to spar intensely. So you want a high pace, high intensity. You want high pressured sparring. And you also want to throw with enough power such that you feel the punches, but light enough that you're not getting hurt. You're not getting knocked out. You're not walking away from the ring with a headache. Because if you just do touch sparring, obviously you don't want to throw too hard. You don't want to go too crazy because you're not trying to get hurt. You don't want to get knocked out. You don't want to end up with some crazy concussions or anything. But you also don't want to go too light and just touch sparring all the time because it's not realistic. If you're just doing touch sparring, you and your partner, you're just going to be walking through each other's punches. You're not going to react realistically. You're not going to react properly. It's not going to prepare you for the real world. Because in the real world, people aren't just going to touch you. They're going to really try to hurt you. And you want to replicate that to the best of your ability when you're sparring. And the way to do that is to throw with enough power such that you're feeling the punch. You're still feeling it and you're reacting realistically, but you're not hurting each other. And you can do this. And I say this because I've met guys in my personal life. I've met them before the pandemic. I met them before the pandemic. I wasn't boxing at the time, but I met these guys before the pandemic. And there's a couple guys that come to my mind. And they spar hard. They spar hard, and they spar hard at least twice a week. They're doing it 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes even more. But at minimum, they're sparring hard twice a week. And like I said, I met them right before the pandemic. So it's been about 5 to 6 years now. And just within that short time frame, so the 5 to 6 years, just within that time frame, I've seen a clear difference in their personalities. And it's not a good change. It's not a good change in their personalities. They're more moody. They're more volatile emotionally. They have a delay in their reactions and when they're thinking and they react to something. So for example, if you try talking to them or you ask them a question, they'll just blankly stare at you for about 3 to 4 seconds. And then they'll react. What'd you say? Seriously, this is how it is now. You ask them a question, they'll just stare at you for about 3 to 4 seconds, then they respond. Like you can literally see their brain trying to process the question that you asked for a few seconds. And this is something that I've seen. And it's happened within 5 to 6 years. Because because they're just sparring so hard so often. So you don't want to end up like that. So you don't need to spar. The only thing I will say is you don't need to spar hard if you're doing combat sports just for self-defense. If you're trying to compete, especially if you're trying to go pro, that's a different story. You will need to spar hard eventually. But if you're doing it just for self-defense, you don't need to spar hard. You do want to throw hard enough that you feel the punches and you react realistically, but you want to go light enough that you're not hurting each other. You're not walking away with a bunch of concussions, and you're not walking away with headaches and things like that. So you don't need to spar hard. The other thing is, and this is the most important thing, is you really need to be careful who you spar with. This is really important. Be careful who you spar with. You want to go with somebody that's good. You want to spar with people that are good. They have good skill, good technique. They know what they're doing. You can learn something from them. But you don't want just someone that's good in terms of skill. You want someone that's good-tempered. They have a good temper, and they leave their ego at the door. You don't want someone that's just he's better than you and he's just gonna use you as a punching bag in the ring and he's gonna try and hurt you. You really don't want to go with people like that. Because I'm telling you, there are people that, for example, because what happens in sparring, it is what it is. Sometimes you'll hit the guy hard accidentally. Maybe he just walks into your punch. You didn't mean to hit him hard, but it happens. Some guys, if they can't keep their ego in check, they're going to feel that punch and they're going to start going hard on you. Oh, this guy hit me hard? Let me give it back to him. You don't want to go with somebody like that. You want to find someone that can use their head. They understand that it was an accident and they're just going to keep going with that same flow. They're not going to try and hurt you back. I'm telling you, because there's some people, they're crazy. They're really going to try to hurt you. You don't want to go with those guys. Those are the ones that are going to hurt you. You're going to have a short career in the fight game. You really don't want to deal with that. For example, I'll give you a personal story of somebody that you don't want to spar with. I remember I went to the boxing gym on a weekend, and the coach wasn't there. So the coach wasn't there. It was just me and a bunch of other guys. And this guy asked me, I didn't really know him that well. I didn't really talk to him. But he asked me if I wanted to spar. He said, we'll spar, we'll work together, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, sure, man. Let's do it. So I get into the ring with this guy, thinking that it's going to be a proper sparring session. We're not just going to try to hurt each other. We're going to work with each other and try to learn something. But then I get into the ring with this guy, and he was going hard. It wasn't even sparring. It was legit a fight. This guy, when I tell you he was going hard, he went hard right from the start. And he was, when I say hard, he was trying to take my head off. Like, he was really trying to, put me into the ground. And it just became a fight right from the start. He was just, from the start, just really throwing hard at me. And at one point, we clinched. And I remember I looked outside because there were people watching. They were outside of the ring watching. And I remember nobody was saying anything, but I can see in their faces, they were just like, holy shit, what's going on here? And at one point, this was towards the end of the round. When this happened, I just said, yeah, I'm not going with this guy. Forget it. I'm done. I'm not going to spar with this guy. At one point, at the end of the round, he threw a really hard right hand. I don't know how this happened because I don't know exactly what happened because it happened so quickly. But he threw a hard right hand and he smashed me right in the back of the head. On the right side, on the back of my head. Clipped me there. And I remember my vision for about 1 to 2 seconds, my vision went white. When you close your eyes, your vision is black. You can't see anything. Same thing with me, except my vision flashed white for about 1 to 2 seconds. It was the first and the only time that I've ever been rocked. Was when this guy smashed me with the right hand to the back of the head. And like I said, this was the end of the round. I said, forget this. I'm done. This guy, I'm not going to go with him. And these are the kinds of people that you don't want to go with. There's people like that just, they're going to fool you. They're going to say, yeah, let's go light, man. We'll just work together, blah, blah, blah. We'll learn from each other. You get into the ring with them and they'll put the phone there and start recording. And they're just going to try and use you for a highlight reel. They're going to start trying to just tear your head off. These are the people you want to avoid. Do not go with them. You're just going to get hurt. You're not going to learn anything. So, to get rid of the fear of getting punched in the face, spar often. You don't need to spar hard if you're doing it just for self-defense. Like I said, if you're going to compete, especially if you're going pro, you will need to spar hard. But if you're doing it just for self-defense, you don't need to spar hard. But you still want to go fast, intense, high pressure with some power so that you're reacting realistically and properly so that you're prepared for the real world. But you're still going light enough that you're not hurting each other. And so you don't need to spar hard, but also seriously be careful who you spar with. I cannot reiterate this enough. Be careful who you spar with. Go with people that are proper, guys that they're good and they're going to really look out for you.